Okay, so a bit of a fun one today because Welsh rugby is a really hostile place at the moment and things are really frustrating. So I thought I had a suggestion of one of my subscribers, Ridian, who gave me a suggestion for a video. So I've made like a variation on that. So thank you, Ridian, for your suggestion. What it is, I've gone with 16 of who I think are the best forwards for Wales over the last like sort of 15, 20 years. I haven't got any of like the current Jack Morgan, David Lake, or Dav Jenkins because I think their future is still like way ahead of them. They've still got a lot more to come and a lot more improvement. The only modern day player, current player I've got is Toby Faletau off the top of my head. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put him in my Dutton Ranch hat for any of you Yellowstone fans. Then I'm going to draw them out against each other into like a knockout, talk through each individual battle, and then say why I like both of them, say which one I think is the best, and then go down and see which forward I think is the best Welsh forward of the modern era, I guess. Okay, so first name out of the hat is Tipperick. Ian Goff. Next one, Ryan Jones. Adam Jones. And then I'll pick the other side, and then I'll pick who they're facing off against. So Dan Lydiate, Luke Charteris, Sam Warburton, Richard Hibbard. Okay, so there's my 8, and now I'll pick the opposition. This will be the fun part now. So Tipperick against Faletau. Ooh, titanic battle. Ian Goff against the Sheriff, Cannonball Ken. Ryan Jones against Michael Owen. That's a good one. Adam Jones versus Colin Jarvis. And then on the other side, we've got Dan Lydiate versus Martin Williams. Luke Charteris versus Gethin Jenkins. Sam Warburton versus Ian Evans. Bit of a mismatch, that one. And then finally, Richard Hibbard against the main man, Alan Wynne Jones. So first one's Faletau versus Tipperick. That's super hard for my first one. I'm gutted that that's the first one I gotta go for. Obviously, Tipperick is like such a unique talent. His skill set is just so different to most back rows, and to be honest, he could play in the backs. He could play centre easily. We've seen him do so many amazing things. Such high level skill for Wales, and yeah, what a player he was. And it's just so unlucky that he was during that period where Warburton was the main man, because he was so good, and he would have had even more caps than he already did if that was the case. And then Faletau, I mean, there's anyone who watches this channel knows how much I love Faletau. One of my favourite players ever. I kind of let the cat out the bag of that one on this battle. Just so consistent. What I love about Faletau is no matter when he's played, how long he's been injured, anything like that, super consistent every time. He comes back, he's been laid off for a year, he comes back, he's almost back to where he was before, and he's just on the ball. I've kind of given it away, so I'm not going to go on anymore. I'm going to pick Faletau out of those two. The next one, Ian Goff versus the Sheriff. Ian Goff is one of the most underrated players of the last 20 years for me. Never gets spoken about by anyone. He is just an absolute workhorse, work machine. I remember in the 2008 Six Nations, he hit something like 100 rucks or something ridiculous like that in one game. There was like rumours that he was losing like a stone a game and just burning so much energy. Just a hard-hitting, quiet sort of player who doesn't do anything flashy, but he just does all of the hard grunt work, and you don't necessarily notice him, and then you look at the stat sheet and he's just up there with all of the stats. What a player he was. And then the Sheriff, what more can you say about him as a player? What a servant to Welsh rugby. He was everything you could ask for on the pitch and off. Had to deal with a lot of crap during his captaincy, and what a player he was for Wales. He never ever let Wales down. His darts were always brilliant, his carrying, and he always played with the most heart that anyone could ever ask for. And for that reason, he is going through to the next round to face Faletau. That's a tough one. Ryan Jones and Michael Owen is an interesting one year. Both really like similar time periods. Ryan Jones was just coming into the team when Michael Owen was, of course, the captain for the 2005 Grand Slam, and Ryan Jones was playing 6. Michael Owen were really similar to like a typical, like a unique back rower, not the most like traditional, just smashing it up the middle. Very, very silky hands, an excellent footballer, and just could pick passes. Uh, Went on the Lions and was good out there. Captained the Lions midweek team a couple of times. Really solid player. Kind of just disappeared though after a successful couple of years. But I guess that was down to the emergence of younger players like Ryan Jones, who was at one point one of the best number 8 in the world. I think when he first sort of really nailed his spot at number 8. Very versatile, could play 6, did play it in the second row a couple of times. Captain Wales a lot as well, a real leader in that team. I think he was the captain 2008, if my memory serves me right. So 2 Grand Slam winning captains there. But Ryan Jones had that extra just punch, and something that Michael Owen didn't necessarily have. And I think just his longevity as well, of how long he was in that Welsh setup and the amount of success we had during that. So I'm going to go with Ryan Jones for that one. And then this last one in this bracket is Adam Jones and Colin Jarvis. Adam Jones is of course a bit of a cult hero. Was so good during he was during a bad period where he was getting questioned. He's not fit enough and he doesn't do enough. And then I think maybe really when Gatlin came in, although he was involved with Mike Ruddock and Gareth Jenkins, when Gatlin came in, he really sort of, I don't want to say whipped him into shape, but he turned him into like the one of, if not the best tight heads in the world, scrummaging wise at least. He was one of the best, and it showed in the Lions in South Africa when Adam Jones came on, when the Beast was absolutely tearing Vickery apart, I think it was, and Adam Jones came on and sorted him right out. And I just think that was just a calibre of where he was at that time. And Colin Jarvis was the top try scorer for any forward at one point, I think, in World Rugby. I know he's kind of a little bit before the Gatland era and stuff, and was the captain for a long time and played in a lot of poor teams, but always just seemed to find his way to the team sheet. Will, of course, always be remembered for that Italy incident on the sideline where he was caught kind of like accused of smirking, which is just BS, to be honest. But yeah, I'm going to go with Adam Jones, but although Colin Jarvis had a really decorated career. And over to the other bracket, we've got 2 back rowers, Martin Williams and Dan Lydiate. Lydiate was, of course, a massive part of that successful period where Wales were top quality defence under Sean Edwards. Won the player of the tournament in the Six Nations where Wales won the Grand Slam. And that is a massive testament to how good he was. Think of all the players who they could have picked out of just our Wales team, let alone in the whole of the Six Nations. And he was completely unplayable for attacks at one point in his career. Just the chop tackling was legendary. Unfortunately, the game sort of moved on a little bit, and he maybe didn't keep up because he didn't offer a little bit more athleticism. But I think a player like him is someone we could really do with right now, who's just going to get in there and just kill defenders at the source. Martin Williams, though, is a cult favourite of mine. He's going through this without doubt because I absolutely love him. What a player he was for Cardiff, and what a player he was for Wales. 2005, he was the player of the tournament, actually. And then 2008, after the World Cup, I think he retired, and Gatlin coaxed him out of retirement to play in that 2008 Grand Slam, and he was still superb. Excellent servant, and just a super skilled and just the best player I knew at getting away with stuff in Welsh rugby. He would be always on the fringes of getting penalised, but get away with so much, and he made a real career of doing that. So what a player he was. Gethin Jenkins, what a player he was. Just a superior athlete and work engine for a prop. We've never really had anyone like him play in the front row prop, at least. Really just constant work rate. Always the first one. The kick chases were coming in. Always one of the first to get there. And got really good at reading defences and hitting jackals. Towards the end of his career, there was he was always second in the Jacqueline stats behind Warburton, I remember, for a period of time, which just shows how good he was. And then Luke Charteris, another one who kind of gets forgotten because he didn't really necessarily play over that long period of time. But when he was in there and he was at the top of his game, he was one of the best defensive lineup operators. I mean, the guy was about 12 foot, so that helps, of course. But so many games, he was similar to like an Ian Goff, where he would just have a really high work rate and get through just lots of unseen stuff, but just didn't have that longevity than Gethin Jenkins had, and for that reason, that's what I'm going to go through there. And then Warburton and Ian Evans, probably the most mismatched, no disrespect to Ian Evans, out of this category so far. Ian Evans was a superb player. Unfortunately for me, just never kind of reached the heights that he could have, because he had all the raw athleticism and just didn't have luck with injuries at times, and maybe just a little bit inconsistent at times. Whereas Warburton was consistent all the time. Had his struggles with injuries, of course, probably retired earlier than we wanted him to, but captained us through so much success. Legendary at talking to referees. They just seem to love him. Just an absolute world-class jackler. At the time, it was the likes of him, Pocock. They were all in there, and he was really within the top echelons of that. Just knowing when to go in, and once he got in, he was just unmovable. His body shape was just perfect, and excellent the turnovers. What a player Sam Warburton was. So he's gonna go through. And then the last two in the first bracket is Alun Wyn Jones versus Richard Hibbard. Hibbard is like a cult favourite with the way he used to fling himself around. I've never seen someone tackle so hard as Richard Hibbard. Talking about Lydia earlier tackling, Hibbard just used to smoke people. Like, he just threw like a torpedo his whole like 20 stone or whatever into anyone who would come in his channel, and he murked so many people, and it was excellent to watch. But I mean, Alun Wyn Jones is just in a category of his own. Most cap player, just absolute workhorse, stalwart, so much success, captain, everything you could want in a player. Now we're stuck with Faletau versus Ken Owens. This is really tough because I like both of these players. No one's got more heart than Ken Owens, but just no one's better than Faletau. I'll just speed up now because I've talked across the other ones. Ryan Jones and Adam Jones. Two different positions, so this is quite tough, obviously. But I think Ryan Jones was a superb player, but in a time where top world-class tight heads was at a premium, he was always one of the players that was there. So I think I'll go with him. Then Martin Williams and Gethin Jenkins. Oh, God, how am I supposed to work that one out? I don't think I can do this one. I'm going to go with Gethin Jenkins just because, again, for that position, he was completely different to any other really player in that position that we had, and probably most teams had, with just that engine that just never stopped. And then, I didn't realise that Warburton and Alun Wyn Jones was the last two. How can you? I don't know how you can. I guess this is the point of the game. Well, the longevity of Alun Wyn Jones has probably got to be what wins out. I love Warburton. Warburton is one of my favourite players of all time. What he did for Wales. I remember when he retired, Squidge did a really interesting, amazing video about his career. It still would hold up now if you went back and watched this, so I'd check it out. Off the top of my head, it was something like during the Lions tour, I think it was New Zealand, when Warburton was playing, when Warburton wasn't playing, the ball was something like, the ball speed was like 2.5 seconds, ball out of the ruck, and then when he played in the next test, he was slowing it down to like 5-6 seconds, just because of his tackle selection, knowing when to go in, knowing how to like be a nuisance without giving away penalties. So yeah, I love Warburton, but just the longevity, Alun Wyn Jones. And then Faletau versus Adam Jones. Faletau goes through, no question for me with that one. Unfortunately, no offense, Adam Jones. Gethin Jenkins, Alun Wyn Jones. Gethin Jenkins, tremendous player, but Alun Wyn Jones beats you there. And then Faletau and Alun Wyn. there's no way you can pick who's better out of these two. It's just down to the fact that I love Faletau more than probably any other player. So I am going to go with Toby Faletau. So my favourite Welsh player of the golden generation, Talupe Faletau. What a player he has been, and still going. The only one of that pile that is still going to this day and still operating at a class level. So thanks for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Let me know what you think. If I've missed anyone that you think should have been in this, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Catch you on the next one.